Let's have a conversation about this. If you create on a camera, chances are you store your or your client's most precious memory or your most creative endeavors on one of these. This is OWC Otherworld Computing Atlas Pro CFExpress Type A Gen 4 480 Gigabyte card, and there's a lot of great things working for it. So let's find out what I think about this. I'm Art and ArtIsRight. Full disclosure, OWC sent me this along with their Atlas CFExpress 4.0 card reader for me to do a review. All the opinions you're about to hear are going to be my own. For the purpose of this video, I am going to refer to these cards as Type A and Type B, dropping the CFExpress moniker because it is a mouthful to say. And secondly, some of you may be wondering, why do I have a vested interest in these Type A's? Well, I've dropped hints now and then that recently I switched over both the photo and video to a Sony camera system. So I'm filming these on A7R5, and having access to these faster memory card is definitely something that is crucial to my workflow. So when I saw OWC made the announcement for these for their 2024 National Association Broadcasters NAB, I started looking at the spec. I saw the price point. I was super impressed. I wanted to get one in to do some testing, and now that I have one, here are my thoughts about them. First, let's talk about one of the biggest thing ever, and that is the price point. We finally have a Type A card that the price per gigabyte is now below $1, which is really amazing. And this is about 66 cents per gigabyte to be precise. That is really amazing. Anytime there are manufacturers coming in to make more of these cards, I'm really happy to see it. It can be pretty much any manufacturer for that matter, because the more we have, the more competition we're going to have in the market that's going to democratize these cards, and as a consumer we're going to get better products, better technologies in there, and also price point that are also much better. So the one thing that it has going for it is already the price point. Secondly, this happens to be the next gen card, which is the 4.0. and it can read and write at double the speed of the previous generation. Now some of you may be asking, well, Art, none of the cameras right now, even your A7R5, can read and write at these speeds. Why is having these cards important? I'm going to say this. If you're looking to get a card today, these would be a good one to consider because they are going to guarantee future compatibility, meaning that a new camera might come out, future releases from Sony, that has access and can read and write a card at these higher speed. You now have a card that is going to be future compatible with those cameras. Now, I hate to use the term future proof just because there's really no future proofing technology. Let's just be honest. It's only going to be for like maybe one generation. So I'm going to use the term future compatibility. So it has that. Now, the other advantage that you do get with these cards, with the current camera today, is when you plug these cards in through a card reader to read or write on your computer, you can now download these cards at double the speed or half the time approximately compared to the previous generation card. Another benefit there. Now, the one thing I want to be clear is that in order for you to really get the high speed benefit from these 4.0 generation card, you also need to have a 4.0 generation card reader too, because if you're just running off the previous generation card reader, you're going to get the max speed from the previous generation card and not what these cards can really offer. So it may not be a bad time to look into getting a new card reader in addition to the card 2, but that will kind of complete the setup. So like I said, it has the price point, it has the future compatibility built into the card, double the speed of the previous generation. There's, like I said, a lot of great things working for it. Now, the way how OWC ship these cards is that they will come with a Type A to Type B adapter. Part of the reason why is because at this point of time, OWC does not have any Type A card reader, and they only have the Type B. So every single card will come in a case pretty much just like that, inserted into a Type B adapter. Now, I have a chance to test this Type B card adapter along with the Type A on the inside, and I've tested this in a EOS R5C, and the camera did not recognize this adapter. This may be an adapter that's utilized only for downloading a card and not necessarily one to really be using in a camera. I'm fairly limited in terms of the cameras I have to test this adapter. Like I said, I can only test on that one camera because I had that in the studio for the moment, but that's just something to bear in mind. Now, when you insert this into a card reader, and let's say you have an OWC one, it just pretty much goes in like that. You can pretty much just simply pull out the Type A card like so and just leave the adapter inside. If the only thing that you photograph with or Type A card, I would just pretty much leave the adapter. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you need to pull these out, it can be a little bit difficult to pull out at times, because you can see that if I'm just going to grab the card, it's just going to pull out the Type A card and not necessarily adapter. The adapter takes a little bit more of an effort to pull out. It's not the most difficult thing, and it does loosen up a little bit more once you insert and just pull it out a few times, but just something to keep in mind on these CFExpress Type A card. Now, a couple of other things I do want to mention about these cards is that OWC marketed this as their Atlas Pro. If you're unfamiliar with OWC card lineup, there's generally two lines. There's the Atlas Pro and the Atlas Ultra, and the Atlas Ultra sits at the very top. Seeing that this is a card that doubled the read and write speed, initially I thought, how come they're not releasing this as an Atlas Ultra? But then I started to look closer at the card, and I think I know the reason why, or this is my personal thought about why I think they're doing this. And part of that is because there is a slate on there, and the number inside that slate is 200. That slate is what we call a VPG, Video Performance Guarantee, and this guarantees that this particular memory card can do a sustained write at 200 megabytes per second. There's another standard you may have heard, VPG 400, that is the 400 megabytes per second sustained write. So these are some of the variations on these cards. Now, some of you may wonder, is this VPG 200 enough for the Sony a7R5? Well, I have actually gone through and tested pretty much everything from all the different RAW types for still photography. And let me simply put it this way. If you're just doing photography, you want to get a card with price per gigabyte of memory that's really awesome, this is definitely the card for you. There's really no doubt about it. And if you're doing video, and I've tested this with all the different video format, including up to the 8K 24p that my A7R5 can do, and I'm going to tell you right now that based on my observation, there has been no skipping, no drop frames, nothing like that at all when I'm playing back on the computer or when I'm recording on the camera. So this card passes with flying colors. In fact, if you take a look at Sony recommendation, they recommend having a card with a VPG 200, which is pretty much what this card qualifies, even for their 8K video or in the all intro mode, which is a large video. They still recommend the VPG 200 at the very minimum. So this is a card that pretty much passes with flying colors. Now, the other thing that I'm also going to say that is a really great advantage of having an OWC card, and I've done a review of their card separately before, I'll leave a link to that in the description, is the fact that they come included with a software, a companion software called Energize, and you can simply download that from OWC website. The one thing to note about that software is because the way how OWC is integrating the software with the hardware, you have to be using either an OWC card reader or an OWC dock for you to use that software. Now, some of you may be wondering what Energize is. And Energize, simply enough, it is a software that enables you to plug in your memory card, link it up to your computer system, and seeing what the life expectancy is on your SSD or the NAND card on the inside of these memory cards and how much you have used it. Is it 99% or is it still 100%? And you can also do another thing which is called sanitize, and that's pretty much to restore these cards to factory default. The other thing what the software will also do is enable you to update firmware on a card for future compatibilities with, let's say, a new camera come out, it doesn't really run well with the current firmware. You can plug this into your computer and update the firmware to the card via the computer, and that's something that's really great. And I'm going to give a quick demonstration of that and also do some speed tests on this thing too. Now, with this Gen 4 card reader, because this is using a USB 4, you can see there's a cable link there on the back. You have this back port and a little switch, so you can use USB 4, which is going to give you the maximum read and write speed, or you can turn this to the Energize one. If you want to use the Energize software, you have to toggle this towards the Energize one in order for the Energize software to really work. And this, what it simply does is bring the standard from this card reader from the USB 4 down to the previous generation USB. So let's plug this in, and I have Energize already launched. You can see that it's already seeing my Atlas Pro 480 gigabyte card. I can certainly give that a check, and I can say, let's do a check health. So right now is checking the health for this card is 100%. It's telling me what firmware it is. I can do the sanitized device as you see there. And if there is a firmware update, it will tell you that this card needs a firmware update right now. This is fairly new. It doesn't need any firmware update at the moment, so we are good to go. Like I said, if I click the sanitize, it's going to secure erase all the data and restore this to factory default. For now, what I'm going to do is just safely eject the device. And what I'm going to do once we do that is let's disconnect this. I'm going to toggle this to USB 4, plug this back into the computer, and we can see that the computer recognized the card, but Energize software doesn't recognize this because this is now running at full speed. Let's do a quick disk speed test on this. We'll select the Atlas Pro. And this is reading files. You can see that it is getting the high speed that the card has pretty much promised. So this is something that is really great to see on the read and write. And like I said, if you have these newer card readers, you can download the pictures or whatever you have created on these cards to your computer at double the speed of the previous generation. Now that you have a chance to see the read and write speed of these cards, let me give you my final thoughts about them. I think that if you're doing still, this is definitely the card that you want to consider. And even if you're doing video, these cards are going to work inside your Sony camera without any problem, because I've done the testing myself to guarantee that it's going to work, and I haven't run into or encountered any issue with these cards. The fact that this is a Type A card with a price per gigabyte that's below $1 is amazing. It is the next Gen 4 card. It has a double read and write speed, and providing that you have a 4.0 card reader, you can download images or videos from this card at double the speed of previous generation. So it is future compatible in that regard, and it also has access to OWC Innergize software that's pretty much compatible not only just with these Type A, but also the other memory cards in their entire lineup. There's no particular card that they have skipped, and their Energize software is included with the card, provided that you use their card reader or a dock. But that's something that's really great, because other companies that I've seen does not have a software like that, or if they do, they skip certain cards, and when you really want to use the software, they're now charging you to use the software. The fact that OWC gives you everything in one simple package, I think is really amazing. And if you just want to get these cards today to use in your workflow, you're not ready to get an OWC dock or a card reader yet, you can certainly wait. Down the road, you can always get one of these card readers, plug in your memory card, and now you have full access to the Energize software. So it gives you a lot of flexibility, not just only now, but in the future too. The fact that you can come in and check the lifespan of the NAND inside your memory card. Like I said, so many great things working for it. I'm really super excited that they have released something like this, and I'll be adding many to my workflow as well. If you have any questions or comment, please leave them. Give this a like, subscribe, and hit the bell if you're new. I'm Art, and I thank you for your time.